Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. I am Charlie Caleri alongside
Gavin Williams.
And today we are going to be doing our Week 5 recap and predictions for Week 6, which
Yes,
is crazy that Week 6 is already here. I say this every week, but Week 6 is upon us.
Yeah, it's this year's flying for the NFL.
Yeah, a little bit too fast.
Way too fast.
A little bit too fast.
Yeah.
But, after Week 5, our prediction records are Gavin closed the gap just a little bit. Last week, I was up 6 games on him. This week, I'm only up 5.
Oh, yeah.
So after Week 5...
Slow and steady wins the race. Hey, Team Gavin, let's do this, guys. Let's do this.
Team Gavin, okay. After Week 5, the prediction records are...
Actually, no.
54.
Team Have a Day. That's what I'm naming it. Team Have a Day. Team
Okay.
Have a Day. Let's do this.
I don't really have a team name. I'm just going to win. That's
Whoa.
really my strategy. So prediction records after Week 5 is I am 54-24, and Gavin is 49-29. So
too bad. Two records that aren't horrible.
Not at all. And I think I'm really being carried by my record from I went 13-3 the one rating Week 4.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
you went up 3 games that week.
That was a really big week for me. So Gavin slowly bringing it back, and we have some different opinions this week on some of the games. So, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yep. Starting
off, Gavin, let's get into the first game, the Thursday night game, Bears at Commanders. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, man, I loved saying every week that the Bears lost, but this isn't the case this week. The Bears won this game 40-20. And if you're like me, ladies and gentlemen, and you said DJ Moore, you're burning a little bit. He had 49 points in fantasy, by the way. But anyways, that DJ Moore, Justin Fields connection is what we were seeing when they played that very first snap in preseason, that everybody thought, oh, my God, this is the Bears. They're back. And that was the case this week. I know it's Week 5, and they're 1-4 now. But still, I mean, that was a great win for the Bears. I mean, they were on the road. They got it done. Thursday Night Football primetime. This was Justin Fields' first game where Bears fans could say he will be the franchise quarterback, but I feel like they say that for a game every single year. But anyways.
Definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, great game from the Bears here. I mean, DJ Moore, man, had a game of his life. He had 3 touchdowns in that game.
He played really well. Yeah, that's just a game the Commanders can't lose.
That was a bad showing from Sam Howell too. Not what he's been playing up to these past couple weeks leading into this game. That was a letdown for a lot of Commanders and Washington fans. I feel for them because if you lose to the Bears, that's got to sting a little extra more. DJ Moore, a little extra more. But yeah, great win from the Bears here. Unfortunately, I hate saying that, but bad loss from the Commanders.
Yep, really bad loss from the Commanders. Another bad loss that happened this week was my Buffalo Bills getting taken down
across the pond
in London by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gavin, let me hear your thoughts on this first, and then I'll go into it.
Yeah. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 2-0 in London this season. They were there for the whole week. Bills flew in when?
Friday.
And we were talking.
Too late.
This couldn't be an excuse, regardless. But you never know; it could be a factor with jet lag. It's a completely different time zone, like almost a whole day's worth of a different time zone. I think that's what showed the most was the slow start from the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen still had a great week, except for that interception. I mean, his stats were still great: 347 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Or was one of them rushing?
He had 2 passing touchdowns.
And 1 rushing?
Yep, and 1 rushing touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, he did everything that he could. But the story about this game, and I really hate to say it, was the injuries. And that really hurts. And I know the man sitting right next to me is giving me a little frown right now because Matt Milano will be out for the season. And that's the biggest player that the Bills have in their defense. He's their leader. And I really feel for that. And I'm sorry. And get well soon, Matt Milano. We know Bills Mafia will pay for your hospital bills if they have to.
We will. And, let me just touch on this game a little bit. This is a bad loss for the Bills. I mean, This is a game where, going up against a good Jags team. I mean, this is a playoff team.
Yeah.
I mean, simple as that. I mean, this is a big swing game for us. I mean, there's a big difference between being 4-1 and 3-2, and we're sitting at 3-2 right now. And these next 3 games are very winnable for us, and
they're must wins too.
They're must wins now. And we had that little bit of leverage before if we snuck this one out somehow, but it seems like every game now until we get to even past that Bengals game is a must win, because we know the Dolphins aren't really gonna lose many games this year, because they're high flying offense, and when they're clicking, they're one of the better teams in the league. So I mean, this is just a rough game for the Bills. I mean, Allen played really well, Diggs played really well, but that defense, I mean, it really showed after Milano went out that this team kind of lost some air in the tires.
And not having Trey White was really
yeah,
big.
I mean, not having Trey White was big, because you saw Elam, he had 11 tackles. You don't want to see 11 tackles out of a corner in any game, because he's getting beat by in this case Calvin Ridley. Matt Milano
played
going down.
Great game.
Matt Milano going down in this game is just heartbreaking for the Bills. I mean, he was looking like he could have been potentially a defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And losing a guy of that magnitude,
and pride.
Even a guy like Daquan Jones going out and missing some time now. I mean, Von Miller's got to step up. When he gets off his limited snap count, whenever that may be, it should be next week, in my opinion. But who's to say he isn't going to be limited for a little bit longer? We need Bernard to step up. We need Dodson to step up. And we need Poyer and Hyde to step up. I mean, they've been kind of lackluster. Hyde got beat on that game-altering play, it seemed like.
Against Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, against Calvin Ridley. So these are just the little things, the little plays in the game that need to be fixed and need to be addressed. And next week's a big game against the Giants, and we need to come out with the win on Sunday night at home
and,
in prime time against the Giants.
Yeah, and from, I think, now on, I'll use the nickname the Banged-Up Bills.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's simple as that. I hate using injuries as an excuse, but when it's your best players going down week after week, and hopefully this is the end of them, it's just tough to watch, because it's just heartbreaking, man. It really is, because it seems like every year you get to a spot where you think this could be the year, and then after week 5 you're already sitting back saying, hey, this might have to be we might have to punt on this year. I'm not saying that right now, but being 3-2 sitting here right now, I mean, it could definitely be 6-2 after week 8, but who knows? Who knows where the season's going to go, and we just got to win the next game. Simple as that. Beat the Giants, go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So going on to the first game.
Yeah.
Charlie, you have the Texans and Falcons.
Now for the rest of the episode, but I'll get over it. This game was pretty good. The Texans at Falcons. We saw something from both these quarterbacks. I mean, C.J. Stroud, he's been incredible this year.
Really has.
He's looking like he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year, which is great. Texans finally found their guy now after Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, knock on wood for Texans fans.
Yeah, but Desmond Ridder, leading that game-winning drive right at the end after Stroud went down and took the lead for his team. That's the kind of football you want to see out of Desmond Ridder right there, and the Falcons offense. What we wanted to see the whole year. That's a big win for them. Bigger difference, I think, between being 2-3 and 3-2.
Very big difference, especially in that division.
Yeah, especially in that division. So being 3-2, especially when the Bucs were on a bye this week, that was a big win for the Falcons. So shout out to the Falcons there. Great game from Desmond Ridder. And we finally saw Kyle Pitts break through a little bit. I mean, 7 receptions, 87 yards. Hopefully he can carry that momentum into next week. But we got to see a little bit more out of Drake London if you're the Falcons. Maybe a little bit more out of Bijan. I know he struggled a little bit. One of his worst games of the year, but
still had a butt catch.
Yeah,
though.
I mean, he'll battle back. So I'm not really worried about Bijan a ton, but that's maybe a game where he's got to get going a little bit against maybe a little bit worse Texans defense than other defense that they played so far. So, but nonetheless, big Falcons win this week.
Yeah, especially with that catch he caught off his behind, bringing in the end
that was
zone.
insane off the hip.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was really cool. And that angle, the top angle,
the overhead view,
the bird's eye view. Look at that if you haven't already. It'll be on SportsCenter somewhere.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was really cool.
And the next game that we're going to talk about is the Panthers at the Lions. And what people will say is a good old-fashioned beatdown. The Panthers won this. Psych. The Lions won this game 42-24. And, man, you got to feel for the Panthers. I mean, Bryce Young not off to his start to a rookie year that you would want to see. Former Heisman Trophy winner struggled. He was 25 for 41, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns, but had 2 interceptions. Jared Goff doing his role as usual for this Lions team. He had 20 for 28, 236 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. And David Montgomery playing a similar game that he played against the Packers in that Thursday night game. 19 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. And especially another receiver that had to step up because Amon-Ra St. Brown was out. Josh Reynolds had 4 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. People are stepping up in their roles for this Lions team. And if you're Dan Campbell, MCDC, your boy.
My guy. My NFC team.
Yeah, you love seeing the Lions pick up after injured players. Players are out. Speaking about a great play and a great player, Aiden Hutchinson. What a great
Also
interception. What a great interception. No gloves.
It's next guy up, dude.
Yeah.
It's next guy up. Simple as that. That's what the Lions show every single week, every single year, every single time they step on the field.
And something that I will give Dan Campbell credit to, you get knocked down, he's going to come up and he's going to bite your kneecaps. And, oh, my God, how many kneecaps do the Panthers have after this one?
0.
Not one.
0.
Great win from the Lions here. They're 4-1. They're leading the AFC North. And they have total control of that division.
Yeah, they really do.
The Lions are looking really, really good.
It's their division to lose.
Yes. Lions, great win. Happy for them. Lions are 4-1 now, and they have a interesting matchup coming up we'll talk about later.
Next game is the Titans at the Colts, which turned out to be one of the better games of the week, one of the biggest games of the week for both these teams. Both went into the week 2-2.
Whole division did.
Yeah, this is a big swing game in the AFC South. Colts coming out with the dub here, 23-16. Massive game from Zach Moss. 23 carries, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. And, sad to say, another injury. Anthony Richardson going down in this game. Not what you want to see out of their what looks to be potential franchise quarterback. He's going to be out for a few weeks. But
sprained AC joint in his shoulder.
Yes. What is good for the Colts, I guess, in the sense is that they have a now veteran backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew we've seen step up. He can win some games. He went 11 for 14, 155 yards. Very good stat line for him. On the other side, for the Titans, they played a decent game, but decent is not going to win you football games, especially in a divisional game. But a guy who played better than decent was DeAndre Hopkins. 8 receptions, 140 yards. This was a Texans-Hopkins performance right here. It was really fun to watch, him going up, getting those jump balls like he normally does. But with that being said, Colts coming out with a dub. Massive game for the Colts. Like, seriously, cannot be understated how big of a win this was, especially with the Jags winning against the Bills and the Texans losing to the Falcons. This could really propel this Colts team going up against the Jags next week, a bigger game than this past week against the Titans.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving on to a team who also needed to get the win. The Miami Dolphins crushed the New York Giants 31-16. And we saw Tua act like Tua, except for 2 interceptions. He had 308 yards, completed 22 of 30 passes, and he also had 2 touchdowns. And A-Chain is not slowing down, but he did get injured.
The A-Train.
The A-Train. I like that.
Yeah.
So he had 11 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had 8 receptions, 181 yards, and a touchdown. Tyreek looking like Tyreek. That team clicked on all cylinders. They won 3 sides of the ball. They're ruining the Giants, and the Giants are getting ruined every single week. The only win they have this year was against the Dolphins, where they had to still come back from 21 points. I mean, the Giants are not the team we saw last year. They're really, really disappointing. Daniel Jones, I've been saying this since he got the contract. They shouldn't have signed him for that deal for those many years. 14 for 20, 119 yards. Just disgusting. They're missing Saquon a lot. 12 carries and 25 yards from Eric Gray. Darren Waller looking better. 8 receptions, 86 yards. That's a player they need to use more if you're a New York Football Giants fan, I'm going to want them to use Darren Waller more. But the only bright side of this whole Giants team that they had throughout this whole game was a crazy 102-yard pick six
By Pinnock. Yeah.
What a great play. But that great play didn't result into a great win because it was a horrible loss.
Yeah, I mean,
Once again.
that offense looks terrible. Darren Waller being probably the only bright spot of that game, but, I mean, he's not doing it consistently, so is that even a bright spot, or is it kind of just a little shine on the surface there?
Just a shine.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Guess we'll find out. Flash in the pan?
Flash in the pan.
Yeah, maybe. This next game that we're going to talk about was just a absolute massacre, one of the worst games we saw all year. The New Orleans Saints going into Foxborough and just demolishing the New England Patriots, 34-0. This was like nothing we've ever seen before for the Patriots. I think they've been outscored 72-3 in their last 2 weeks.
That's correct. Yeah.
I mean, it's bad in New England. Derek Carr, really good game, 18 for 26, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, really solid game from him. Alvin Kamara looks to be back, 80 yards and a touchdown. And Michael Thomas, 4 receptions, 65 yards.
Slant boy.
This is a game you want to see for the Saints. This is a game where you can really get some momentum. They're 3-2 in that division. Big win for them, especially with the Falcons winning. Bucs being 3-1 on a bye again. But the Pats, man, Mac Jones just, I don't know if it's him, if it's the old line, if it's everybody. I think it's just a combination of everybody. He just doesn't look good. He doesn't look confident. He doesn't look like they're running the right plays for him. There's not really even a bright spot on this Patriots team. I can't really think of anything. I'm trying to think of something for him, but it's really nothing, and it's kind of sad. Even though I hate the Patriots, but at this point, being 1-4, right now they're the second worst team in the league behind the Panthers. This might just be a year where you got to say, hey, let's get top 3 pick, kind of get a guy, whether that be Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., really anybody. They just need anybody right now, and New England's future looks kind of bleak, which is good as a Bills fan, but if you're a Patriots fan listening to this, definitely not something you want to hear. So,
yeah, that's something that Charles and I were talking about. Was it's weird to think about that the Patriots could tank because they're the last team that you would think imaginable that would tank.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they don't tank. They're the Patriots.
Yeah.
They don't tank, but this is a year where I think they might have to.
I don't think especially with their injuries. Yeah, it's showing bad.
I don't think they really have a choice this year.
I don't think they do either.
Yeah,
I think even if they do try, they'll still be bottom 3 in the whole NFL.
Yeah, I mean they're just not good. I mean they could definitely finish with the first pick, which would just be wild that they get the first pick but don't trade for it. It's their own pick.
Yeah, that'd be really weird.
That'd just be weird.
They do really need to move on from Mac Jones. It's looking like for the first 5 weeks. First 5 weeks, it's looking like they might have to move on.
He just doesn't look good.
A quarterback that people thought they were going to have to move on that actually kind of shined was Kenny Pickett and the Steelers this week in a game where they needed a win to stay competitive in this division. Huge win for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Baltimore Ravens. It was a 17-10 win. Now the Steelers were down 10-8 in the fourth quarter of this football game. And Kenny Pickett, on a third down, throws it to his guy, George Pickens. The leaner in front of the TV screen gets it done. And he runs to the end zone.
NFL young boy.
For a 40-yard touchdown. That was the craziest play of the game. And when that was happening, Matt Canada was sitting down without any emotion because he probably called a third down run that was going to be for a loss.
Probably.
And Kenny Pickett probably audibled out of that
probably called
one.
Screen or something like that. Yeah.
Glad for Kenny Pickett for this one. He had 18 for 32, 224 yards and a touchdown. And George Pickens, the man of the match, 6 receptions, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Lamar Jackson, we were really hyping him up. We were saying that he might have the most slept on years right now. It's showing that he's kind of back where people are ranking him. He had 236 yards on 22 completions out of 38 passes. And he also had an interception, which was a costly interception to lead to the Steelers winning. Gus Edwards had 12 carries for 48 yards. And Zay Flowers had 5 receptions for 73 yards. And Zay Flowers got the ball, didn't catch it. And T.J. Watt taught him a lesson with punching him. And that might have shown the punch from the Steelers defense helping out that Steelers offense in a low-scoring game. But a game where if the Pittsburgh Steelers want to stay competitive, they have to win these divisional games, and they sure did.
And guess what? They're leading the division now.
They are.
Which
They're
is
in
crazy to
first place.
say. I mean, they won, is it 3 in a row? Am I wrong on that? They're 3-2 now.
Yeah, they're 3-2,
nonetheless.
yeah.
The Ravens are also 3-2. But the Steelers, man, they're looking like they're turning it around just a little bit.
Yeah, so the Steelers, they started
They won
1-1.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they went 2-1, down to 2-2 against the Texans, which was a horrible loss, and now really turned it around. That was a great job by Mike Tomlin for turning those guys around.
Which he
really-
does. Well, he's the
does.
best in the league at doing that. He's the best at turning his team around. So, Out of Bounds Podcast is a big fans of Mike Tomlin.
Yes.
Big fans of Mike Tomlin. He's just a great coach. Great coaching matchup in this game that I'm going to be talking about. Eagles at Rams. Nick Sirianni versus Sean McVay. Eagles coming out with this one 23-14, staying undefeated at 5-0 right now. And, you know, I picked the Rams in this game. I did. And it didn't look like a terrible pick at halftime. They were only down by 3. It was 17-14 at half. But
Even the whole game, they were competitive.
yeah, and there was only 6 points in the second half. 2 field goals by the Eagles in the fourth quarter, one of those being with 4 minutes left. So it was a one-possession game for most of the second half, most of the fourth quarter. But, you know, Eagles pulling away a little bit. Rams offense really couldn't get anything going in the second half. But the return to Cooper Kupp, great game for him. He left off right where he started, I guess, right where he ended last year. 8 receptions for him, 118 yards. On the other side, A.J. Brown, 6 receptions, 127 yards. Jalen Hurts led the team in rushing, 72 yards and a touchdown for him.
That kid's special, man.
Yeah, 303 passing yards for him. I mean, he looks like he's probably the MVP favorite right now, especially after the Bills and Josh Allen lost this week.
Yeah.
But that's good for our picks because we both had Jalen Hurts winning MVP this year. So
We did.
I guess we a little bit of bright side for this game. Matt Stafford, though, the injury didn't look like it really bugged him at all,
No,
which
it didn't.
is great. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a gritty guy. We knew it really probably wouldn't affect him, but let's see if it maybe lingers around a little bit. I mean, we'll see that later in the year. But big win for the Eagles there. Rams got to get back on track, 2-3 if they want to stay in the wild card race. They got to win some games, and they got a tough game coming up this week, I think. They're playing the Cardinals this week, so they should win that one. But we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, we sure will. But speaking about the Cardinals, the Bengals played the Cardinals. And welcome back, Joe Burrow. We've missed you. 36 for 46, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had an interception, but 3 touchdowns.
He might be back.
Jamar Chase, hey, 24/7, call him 7-Eleven. Because guess what? Like he said last week,
He's always open.
He's always open. 15 receptions, 192 yards. And who did Joe Burrow throw all 3 touchdowns to? Jamar Chase. Welcome back, Jamar. Welcome back, Joe Burrow. I don't know if Charlie missed you, but I sure did. I love those 2 guys.
I did. I mean, I am a fan of that duo. I'm a fan of Joe Burrow. I am slightly a fan of Jamar Chase, but definitely a fan of Joe Burrow. And, you know, it was good to see him back, especially against a bad Cardinals team.
Yeah, this was a Joe Burrow team, you know. And so welcome back, the Bengals. And this was an absolute must win for the Bengals. I mean, if they didn't win this game, they wouldn't be competitive in their division right now. But they got the upper hand. They won this game 34-20. And Josh Dobbs, before he threw those 2 picks, they were up 14-10 at one point. So the Bengals were getting a little bit of a grit in the earlier stages of the first half. Joshua Dobbs had 15 for 32, 166 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Rondell Moore was the leading rusher with 3 carries for 50 yards. And Marquise Brown had 4 receptions for 61 yards, and he also had a touchdown. But Joe Mixon looked really good in this game. Joe Mixon had 25 carries for 81 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but still, great stat line game for Joe Mixon. Those 3 looking a lot better than what they did a couple weeks ago. Let's just say that. But Joe Burrow leading the Bengals back to competitive, that is going to be a close division like we predicted. The Ravens and
what's their record now? Are they 2-3? Yeah.
So the Ravens and Steelers,
going. Yeah.
The Ravens and Steelers are 3-2, and the Bengals are 2-3.
That was big for the Bengals that the Steelers won, I think, because I mean the Ravens could be sitting there at 4-1 right now, 2 games up on the Bengals.
So the Bengals had everything right that was supposed to happen, and the Browns were on a bye.
Yep. So that helped a little bit, I guess. Yeah.
So the Bengals looking like they're back, but we all know that the Bengals will have a tough schedule going up in the later weeks. But we'll talk about who they have next week in a little bit.
So the next game was the Jets at Denver, and man, this game was 31-21. The Jets came out with the win, but pick six right at the end, kind of skewed the score just a little bit. Broncos had the ball driving, and Mr. Unlimited
didn't look so unlimited.
No, he did not. He looked very limited in this game. Russell Wilson had under 200 passing yards once again, 196 to be exact, for 2 touchdowns. So he was pretty efficient. I mean, 20 for 31 isn't great, but in the spots where he needed to be efficient, he was. And it was great because you kind of got a glimpse of Seahawks rush just a little bit. But Judy wasn't getting open. Courtland Sutton was barely getting open. Their leading receiver, Samaje Perine, 4 receptions for 73 yards. It wasn't great on the other side for the Jets, even though they put up 31 points. Zach Wilson also with under 200 passing yards, 199 to be exact.
But the story of the game was who?
Breece Hall.
Yep.
Breece Hall had 22 carries, 177 rushing yards, and a touchdown.
Another Hall also scored in that game as well.
Bryce Hall scored the fumble return, the fumble 6, the scoop and score, whatever you want to call it, to kind of solidify the game with 29 seconds left there. But I think the story of the game here was just the dominance by Breece Hall. I mean, and I want to point this out too, is that C.J. Mosley was a monster in this game, especially in the second half. The Broncos only getting held to 8 points in the second half and 23 points for the Jets in the second half. So this looked like a good game for Zach Wilson. Got back on track with the win. They're 2-3 now. Broncos fall to 1-4. If they really want to make a push for the playoffs, they got to start winning now, and it starts next week. So Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson, he's got to get going. But Jets come out with this one.
Yeah, they sure do. And moving on though to a game that was closer than people expected, but I expected it to be a pretty good game. Was the Kansas City Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings, and the Chiefs won this game 27-20 in a competitive game, but the Vikings had one last drive to go down and tie this ball game up, but they did not do it, and unfortunately they did not have their number one receiver with it.
No, and Justin Jefferson going on IR now after this game, which is just massive blow for the Vikings. They are 1-4 now,
and 1-score games as well.
1-4 and 1-score games as well, which is crazy. And they're potentially talking about getting rid or trading Kirk Cousins, which is something to monitor because he just hasn't looked good this year. His O-line has not looked good, though, to be fair. I'm going to give him that. But at the same time, you can't keep losing these games. On the other side for the Chiefs, just another solid game for them. I mean, they don't look overly impressive this year, even though they are 4-1. They're on a 4-game win streak, which is great for them. Whatever. But something that happened in this game, Travis Kelce, he got a little bit banged up. He was good in the second half, but end of the first half, he had a non-contact ankle injury, but looked to be fine out there in the second half.
He got a touchdown in the second half.
Yeah, all the Swelsies out there are probably pretty excited about that because when they play the Broncos on Thursday night, maybe Taylor Swift will be in attendance. We don't know yet.
It'll be in Kansas City, too.
Yeah, hopefully she's not. But,
yeah.
I don't really want that distraction going on. But, Pacheco looked good. He had another touchdown in this game. Mahomes, 2 touchdowns, 281 yards. I don't know. The Chiefs don't look overly impressive to me. I'm not really scared of them right now. But
especially their defense.
Their defense, I mean, Chris Jones still looks great.
Yeah.
Some guys on the defense still look great. But, just overall, they're just winning football games.
They are.
Which is just what you have to do. So, good for them, just for winning football games, I guess.
Yeah, and a big step back from the Minnesota Vikings that people were expecting they were going to take a step back, but not like this.
No, this is not that slow start really killed them.
Yeah, and last year, what were they in one-score games?
They were 11-0 in one-score games.
Yeah, and this year they're 1-4.
1-4 already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through 5 weeks.
Yeah, through 5 weeks. So they're on pace to just play a one-score game every week and maybe squeak out a win every once in a while.
Yeah.
But the Vikings, man, they got to turn it around, especially in that division where, the Packers lost this week. We'll get to that. Bears won, so they have the same record as the Chicago Bears, which is something
I thought you'd be crazy if you said.
If you told me that the Bears and the Vikings had the same record after
5 weeks,
5 weeks, I would have said they're probably both 3-2.
Yeah.
Or maybe 4-1. But
yeah,
because maybe the Bears
maybe
did
they
something,
blew up
but I didn't expect the Vikings to be 1-4 after this many weeks. So.
And something that's scary is maybe Vikings, they never know, especially with Justin Jefferson going down. And IR means a minimum of 4 weeks without playing a football game. That could be big. They can be 1-8.
Yeah.
I don't know when their bye week. Their bye week, but we're like worst case scenario, they could be 1-8 or 1-7. And at that point, it'd be kind of scary to think about. But if they landed Caleb Williams, you put Caleb Williams with that offense.
Something to note is that the tanking could start next week. They play the Bears.
Yeah.
So if they lose if they lose next week to the Bears, they have technically the quote tiebreaker over them, and they could be in line just to get a top 3 pick along with the Panthers and Patriots. So
we've seen an off year from the Vikings do this before.
It might help them in the long run.
It might,
honestly, and getting rid of Kirk, which
that
might
could be big
time.
For them. Yeah.
I'm a big Kirk guy, but he just doesn't look good right now. He looks maybe a little bit past his prime. He could definitely still help a team win football games, but just not the Vikings right now.
No, especially not the Vikings right now. But a great win from the Kansas City Chiefs, who had a good test against them this week, but maybe not so next week. No. We'll talk about that.
Not at all. Not at all. A game that we thought was going to be a little bit better. We were hoping
we said it was going to be the game of the year.
Yeah, it did not turn out to be the game of the year. And I think we learned a lot of things in this game.
Yes.
The 49ers beating up on the Dallas Cowboys 42-10.
Beating up is an understatement.
Yeah. The 49ers are legit. They are the best team in the league.
Yes.
There's no way you can watch any NFL football games up to this point and say that they aren't the best team in the league. Maybe you can make a case for the Eagles, but even then, the dominance that the 49ers have showed week in and week out is just incredible. Brock Purdy doesn't seem to be ready to lose a game yet. George Kittle is back.
Yes.
George Kittle is back.
Yes.
3 receptions, 3 touchdowns.
Best T-shirt of the game as well.
Yep. That goes without saying. That T-shirt was great. But on the other side, really rough game for Dak Prescott. 3 picks this game. CeeDee Lamb had 49 receiving yards. He didn't look great, but he was, I guess, maybe a little bit of a bright spot for the team. Tony Pollard only had 29 rushing yards. Just a rough game for the Cowboys overall. Their defense just looked outmatched. They looked slow. They looked sluggish. They got off to a really slow start, and they just couldn't recover after that.
Yeah, and something that a lot of NFL fans or analysts are thinking about right now, when is it going to be time for Dak Prescott to be done? When he plays the good teams, he loses, as so far this season. And I think he's thrown 3 picks in both of those games that they've lost.
Maybe. I don't know. But with that being said, I mean, they're pretty similar to – they're a really good 3-2 team. I'll say that. They're like the Bills. They're one of the better 3-2 teams in the league. And then you get the 3-2 teams like the Falcons. It's just kind of weird at this point in the season where the records are the same for a lot of teams, but the storylines for the seasons are a lot different. Dallas could have been 4-1. San Francisco also could have been 4-1. Could have had the tiebreaker over them, but turns out not the case. San Francisco looking dominant, going into next week, and they look to keep it rolling.
Yeah,
they don't look like they're going to stop.
Yeah, and especially going back to the Cowboys and those games that you do wonder like when Dak will be cut out. He had 3 interceptions this game, but the game that they lost to the Cardinals, I mean, he only had 1 interception, but that was a Cardinals team that they should not lose to.
Definitely not. I mean, they should have been a 4-0 versus 4-0 matchup. And not saying the outcome would have been any different, but maybe being 4-0 has a little bit more of a maybe make you drive a little bit more in this
And
game.
the Cowboys
to
have
win the game.
and the 49ers have a really good attitude about being 4-0 or 5-0.
Yeah.
They said that it's one game at a time. It doesn't matter.
They look scary
they're
right
playing.
now. Like, unbelievably scary. I mean,
I don't see them losing a game right now.
Yeah, me and Gavin were talking about this. This could be a team that potentially goes maximum of 2 losses this year.
Yes.
With the fluke loss. They could be fluke losses.
Or it could be like a last week. They already have the first seed, then they just lose because Sam Darnold's starting.
I think if you're 16-0 going into the last week,
kinda have to.
Yeah, you got to go for the undefeated
I don't think
record.
Kyle Shanahan would do that. I think
You
he
don't
would
think
play.
so?
He would play for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you got to play for a Super Bowl more than the statistical records, I guess.
But we
something
also
to note,
yeah,
something
yeah.
to note right here. The Washington Commanders are very good against undefeated teams and knocking them off, and they play the Washington Commanders. I think around week 13, week 14. So imagine a 14-0 Niners team going up against probably like people were saying like an 8-6, Washington
Maybe.
team, maybe 8-6 Washington team, and Washington comes out with a dub somehow because they beat up on Philly. Remember that? They beat them when they were undefeated. They beat up on Pittsburgh back when they were the last undefeated team. So who's to say that the Niners can't be undefeated until that Washington game and then the Commanders knock them off?
Yeah, speaking about that too, Charlie and I were also looking up their schedules between the Niners and the Eagles, and they both play each other in Week 11.
Around there, yeah.
Week 11 or Week 12.
Can't
and
wait for that.
We looked at both their schedules, and we don't see them losing another game till they play each other.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, the Eagles have a little bit harder of a road because they have to go through the they have to go through the Cowboys and the Bills before they have
That
to
is true.
see the Niners, so they might lose one or two, but both those teams could be undefeated playing each other in the regular season.
And I still think the Seahawks or the 49ers lose the divisional game maybe to the Seahawks or the Rams. Definitely not the Cardinals probably, but I still think those divisional games are still up for grabs. I mean, especially in the NFC West, those are teams that hate each other over there.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Who's to say that one of those teams can't knock them off? But the 49ers right now look to be the team. They look to be the team in the league to
They
beat.
do.
And they don't look like they're slowing down.
Yeah,
at
and
any
Brock
point.
Purdy has yet to lose a regular season game, and it did not start this week, and I do not think it will start next week, but we'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
Yep. The last game of week 5 was
Oof.
Gavin, your Green Bay Packers losing 17-13 against the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll touch on it first
Yeah.
so you can go into it a little bit. This was just a sluggish game by the Packers. They did not look like they wanted to win this football game.
Absolutely.
The Raiders really didn't either. But still, I mean, they came out with the dub. Jacoby Myers, 7 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Jimmy G played a Jimmy G game.
Yep.
22 for 31, 208 passing yards, touchdown, and a pick. Jordan Love, 3 picks. Got to clean it up a little bit. A.J. Dillon, 76 yards rushing, a touchdown. Christian Watson, 3 receptions, 91 yards. Didn't realize he had 91 yards.
It was because he had a 77-yard catch.
Yeah, that 77-yard catch late in the game, which turned out to be one of the
Just
more
a field
pivotal
goal, too.
pivotal plays in the game.
Yeah, it should have led to a touchdown, but it was just a field goal on that drive. And
Yeah,
looking
so-
back, really needed a touchdown on that drive.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Raiders came up with the dub last night as we're recording this. And, yeah, I mean, they're 2-3. Packers are 2-3. That was a big game for the Packers right there.
Yeah. Now I'll get into my spiel. So, the Green Bay Packers, who should be 3-2 right now, but choose not to be, in a division where they could be a legit wild card team, being the second to finish in that division, that'd be huge. And to really staple themselves, because now we're going into a bye. So now either the Vikings or the Bears will more than likely not tie that game. So one of them will win and be virtually tied with the Packers, except both of them will have 4 losses, and the Packers will only have 3. So we'd still be in the second place, especially if the Bears win because we have the tiebreaker over them. But that was a game where we needed to be above 500 going into the bye. This is a Green Bay Packers team that needs a bye week early, which I'm not used to saying because I like having the bye week later in the season. This is a unhealthy team, very unhealthy team, especially, I mean, I just want to point out A.J. Dillon did his role, filled it in really very nicely. 20 carries, 76 yards, and a crucial touchdown that led to what I thought was going to be a touchdown that was going to help the Packers overcome a bad loss, but still was a loss.
But Gavin, I want to point this out, is that if a guy like Aaron Jones is out for your team, I understand A.J. Dillon's not a receiving back, but he's better than who's your backup running back?
Patrick Taylor.
Patrick Taylor. He's way better than Patrick Taylor. Why is A.J. Dillon not on the field in that last drive?
I wish I was Matt LaFleur last night. Let's just say that. Especially, Jordan Love. There's going to be growing pains. And the Packers fans, including myself, we signed up for this. There's going to be growing pains. And something I want to mention was Aaron Rodgers and the Pat McAfee really had something really nice to say about the Packers, especially the fans telling us to calm down, take a deep breath, because this kid's young and he loves the team. Go watch that. It's on the Pat McAfee show if you want to see that little interview about Aaron Rodgers talking about the Packers. But back onto the Packers. Jordan Love, 3 picks. And realistically had 2 picks because one of them wasn't his fault. The other 2 were completely his fault. Also Christian Watson in the end zone to take the lead, which might have been the go-ahead touchdown to win the game. Didn't look like he tried going up for it that much. Kind of got a little push-off from the defense. Nothing like a defense. It wasn't a pass interference. I'm not saying that. But if you're Christian Watson, you at least have to go try knocking the ball out of his hands or something. But, Christian Watson, I'm not going to bash on him too much because you could tell he was very upset after the game, sitting on the bench. And he waited a while to go shake everybody's hand because he had to go digest it himself. But a horrible, horrible loss. You cannot go. And the defense did it right. Letting up 17 points in the NFL, that's pretty good. And for a defense that struggled against the Lions in the Thursday night, had a week and a half to prepare against a 1-3 Vegas Raiders team. Inexcusable. That is a horrible loss. The defense did their job, especially guarding up Devontae Adams. That was a great
He was non-existent in this game.
It was a great game for the defense, but Jair Alexander said that the defense might have to go score the touchdowns themselves. And at this point, I'm not mad at Jair for saying that because it's very true. And we need to see a Jordan Love that can complete the ball more times. Yeah, I'll end it at that. Bad loss. Need this bye week to get healthy, especially with Quay Walker going down.
That was a tough loss for the defense right there. Hopefully he can get healthy, because never want to see any injuries. But with that being said, on to week 6 now.
Yep,
Packers on a bye. The only other team on a bye is the Steelers, who probably don't want a bye.
They just had a great win. They probably don't want that bye.
But maybe that'll help them. Maybe Matt Canada will get
fired. Maybe
maybe he'll get fired. Maybe something will happen there. But let's kick it off with that Thursday night game.
Absolutely.
With our predictions right here: Broncos at Chiefs.
Yeah, I have the Chiefs in this one. Obviously,
I have the Chiefs too.
At least by 3 scores.
At least by 3 scores, you say?
Yep,
I'm not saying you're wrong, but
you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. You didn't have to say it. Chiefs win this game. Should be an easy win for them, especially at home.
And moving to 5-1, hopefully, for them.
For them, not for the Bills. Ravens at Titans across the pond again in London. I do love these London games.
They're fun.
I love waking up and watching football.
That is a really nice thing.
It was nice waking up and watching the Bills play. It was just bad that the outcome. Yeah. So Ravens at Titans here, massive game in the AFC, especially for seeding purposes. Big game for the Ravens. They're going to need a win this week, and that'll drive them to beat the Titans this week, in my opinion.
In my opinion, too. They need a bounce back. This is their bounce back.
Yep, they're going to need it. The Commanders also need a bounce back. They have the Falcons this week, who had a really good game against the Texans last week. Let's see if they can keep that going at home again. I have the Commanders in this one.
I have the Falcons in this one. I think that playing a tough game that they played last week in a close game, I think it'll be a close game again this week, and the fact that it was a close game might help them get over the hump against the Commanders, especially two young teams playing each other.
Yeah, it's 2 teams that are looking to be on the same trajectory right now. It seems like with 2 young quarterbacks, they both have what seems to be some really good weapons on offense, but just need to put it together a little bit.
Who's going to utilize their weapons more in this game?
Yeah, exactly. I just think that Terry McLaurin is a better option than Bijan Robinson at this point. So that's why I have the Commanders in this game. They're on a 3-game losing streak, but teams on losing streaks sometimes tend to
shake off.
Yeah, shake it off.
Yeah.
They tend to have that extra drive, that extra will to win the game. And this is a big game for the Commanders here. And
big game for both teams.
I think somehow they come out with a win here.
Yeah, this is 2 wild card teams going at it.
Potentially.
Yeah, two potential wild card teams trying to fight. I have the Falcons in this one, but going on to a all NFC North.
Two not wild card teams right now.
As of right now, 2 1-4 teams, the Vikings and the Bears, and I have the Vikings winning this game, even though they don't have Justin Jefferson.
I mean, they should win. I also have the Vikings. They're just a better team. They should win.
I don't want to say this, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it was another DJ Moore crazy week.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings defense just looks awful right now. I mean, the whole team just looks kind of just like they're dragging.
They are dragging.
I think that's the best word to describe it. They're just dragging right now, and it's kind of unfortunate because, I mean, maybe less for you than me, but they look to be one of the more fun teams this year, and they kind of fell flat on their face.
Yeah.
But still, I have them winning against the Bears this week.
I do too.
Seahawks at Bengals is the next game. I have the Bengals big. I mean, they're going to be on a roll now, I guess. That'd be what? How many in a row?
2.
2, but still. Big win at home, potentially for Joe Burrow and the Bengals here. But Seahawks team that's 3-1 right now, coming off a bye.
Yeah, so, they had a whole week of rest and preparation.
Yeah, so big game for the Bengals this week. I think a bigger game than for the Seahawks, but Seahawks, if they can get to 4-1, especially in that division, they can be a game behind the Niners.
Yeah, that'd be huge. But
who knows?
Needless to say, I still do have the Bengals to win this game. I think Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are going to be way too much for the Seahawks defense. This might be a little bit higher of a scoring. This might be a really fun game to watch. I think this might be one of the games of the week.
Yeah, one of the games of the week right here, I think.
But yeah, I think Joe Burrow, a little too much for the Seahawks, and I think the Bengals with Trey Hendrickson, yeah, that'll be a little bit more easy pickings to get to Geno Smith. So I have the Bengals in this one.
Moving on here to, I guess, both their division rivals. The 49ers are going to Cleveland to play the Browns. I don't think the Niners lose this game.
I don't think
so. If this is the game that they lose,
that'd be crazy.
That'd be insane. But I think they're going to be 6-0 after this week.
Yeah, I do too. I have the Niners beating the Browns by 2 scores.
Me too, I think. Team that's 0-5 right now, the Carolina Panthers, are going to Miami. And I think the Dolphins are in for another blowout win.
I think the Dolphins will win by 3 scores because of this flashy offense, especially going against Panthers' bad defense.
Flashy offense playing bad defenses every week, folks. I mean, it's hard to look not flashy when you're playing these teams. So
yeah, so Dolphins get the win. They're gonna, in my opinion, Dolphins get the win, and if they do win, they're 5-1. So that'd be a big win for the Dolphins.
I also have the Dolphins. Next game. Biggest game of the week, I think, honestly. Yes. Colts at Jags. These teams do not like each other. I'll say that right now. I think a little rivalry is brewing between those two teams.
Yes.
Through that whole division, honestly. I had the Colts in this game.
You know, I wanted to choose the Colts, and Ian Kennedy, if you're listening right now, I'm very sorry to say I'm not going to choose the Colts because Anthony Richardson will not be playing in this game. But I'm picking the Jaguars, but I do want to give some credit. Actually, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Gardner Minshew, who's really filling in that role for that team.
Revenge game coming up this week for Gardner Minshew and the Colts.
Yeah, so I have the Jaguars, but I also do hope the Colts win.
Especially because the Colts they can't go down 2-0 in the season series against the Jags, so they're going to need this win. I think that's what propels them, but I think the Jags probably are maybe a little bit of a better pick in this game because they are a better team, I think, on paper. But the Colts, in my opinion, seem to be just a little bit rolling.
And maybe Jonathan Taylor will get the ball more this week because of Anthony Richardson being out.
I agree, which is going to be something to note because they'll have 2 running backs that can get the ball.
Yeah,
and
Zach Moss has been playing unbelievable.
So that's something to keep an eye on. Staying in that division, Saints at Texans here. I have the Texans winning this game.
I have the Saints winning this game. They just had a crazy game coming off the Patriots. I think the momentum's going to carry through, especially against a young team in the Texans. I think the Saints will get it done, especially getting Kamara back and having Slant Boy and having Chris Olave. That offense is really electric with Derek Carr. So, and the Saints defense is also nothing to sneeze at. So
no, not at all. But that's going to be, I mean, one of the first tough tests for C.J. Stroud in his young career.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's see if he can keep his hot streak going, I guess.
That'd be cool if they won. I'm rooting for the Texans in
See
this
if the
one,
Texans can win this game, come out to 500 after this, be 3-3. That'd be massive because
in that division especially.
You know the Colts and Jags are both going to be 3-3 after this week, or one of them's going to be 3-3 after this week. And who's to say the Titans can't be 3-3 after this week? They're going. I mean, they might be 2-4. They might be 3-3. Who knows? Texans, big game for them, big week for them. They're going to need to be on their A game every single week, but especially this week against the Saints team who just blew out the Patriots.
Yep.
So,
and speaking about the Patriots,
yeah,
they're going against the Raiders, and I think the Raiders will take this one, especially if they play the way their defense played against the Green Bay Packers, who's a better offense than the Patriots. This is going to get ugly, and the Raiders might let up 3 at most if they play the way they played last week.
I have the Raiders in this game too. The Pats just, I mean, I haven't seen anything out of them to say that they can win a game or should win a game.
Except for that Jets game.
Except for that Jets game, which they didn't even look like they wanted to win that game. So, Raiders here. Simple as that.
Yep. Moving on to a NFC West matchup. And that sounds exciting, but this game isn't so exciting.
No. Cardinals at Rams. I got the Rams here.
I do too.
Should be a pretty easy game for the Rams. I hate writing off the Cardinals every week.
I do too, but
it's just they're a hard team to play, but they'll always lose, I think.
Yes.
So
they're going to be competitive.
They're going to be competitive in most of their
record
games.
wise.
Yeah, but their record's just going to be getting worse and worse. But who's to say they can't go into LA and win this game?
That'd be awesome. I'm rooting for the Cardinals.
That'd be fun. That'd be really fun for them.
Yes, absolutely. So we both have the Rams.
Eagles at Jets is the next game here. That should not be a fun game to
That's
watch.
going to be a I think this is going to be very, very exact to the Cowboys Jets game. Where Zach Wilson couldn't get anything.
I think this game is going to be closer than people think. I think this is going to be within 10 points. Wow. I think the Jets will be in it for a little bit. I think this is going to be a good Zach Wilson game right here.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it's going to be one of those slow start slow finishing Eagles games. Okay. I think the Jets are going to be kind of maybe down by 2 or 3 scores going into halftime and then maybe battle back but come up just short against the Eagles here.
Yeah, so we both have the Eagles in that one as well. Moving on, we have the Lions at the Buccaneers.
Coming off a bye
with a creamsicle alert.
Yep.
Get your popsicles ready because the creamsicles are here.
That's big. Yeah. I have the Lions in this game.
I do too.
But I would not be shocked if the Bucs win this game.
I wouldn't be either.
They look really good this year.
They're coming off a bye.
Baker looks really good. He's coming off of a good week, it looks like. He went down to Texas and watched Oklahoma beat Texas.
Horns down, baby.
Horns down. So he's coming off of that, a little bit momentum personally for him. Let's see if he can move that into the NFL.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Win for his Bucs team.
And that'd be good for the Packers too. So I'm rooting for the Bucs here.
That would be good for the Packers.
But I still have the Lions.
Giants at Bills the next game, the Sunday night game in Buffalo.
This is going to get ugly. Bills win by at least 3 scores.
Bills by $1 billion.
The banged up Bills are going to win by $1 billion.
I hope so. In the last game of this week, Monday night, one of the better Monday night games, and
finally,
I'll actually be really looking forward to a Monday night game this year. Cowboys at Chargers, a 3-2 team versus another 3-2 team. Chargers are they're 2-3 now.
They came off the bye.
Oh yeah, they're coming off the bye. They're 2-2. Sorry, my mistake there.
But also a must-win game for the Chargers.
Yeah, big game for the Chargers here, especially because the AFC wildcard race. I know it's early in the year, not even a third of the way through the year, but this is the time to start seeing who's really going to separate themselves from the pack. And the Chargers starting off 0-2 wasn't great for them, but they're on a 2-game win streak. Had a bye last week, playing a really good Cowboys team this week. Cowboys could be 3-3 after this week, which is massive for the Eagles.
And that's what I do have.
Yeah,
I have the Chargers winning this week. They came off a bye week. Hopefully, and this is going to be recorded obviously before the Monday night game.
Yep.
Hopefully Austin Eckler can play this game.
He's looking like he's trending in that direction where he's going to play, but who knows what's going to happen as we're recording this 6 days from now.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I have the Cowboys actually winning this game.
Really?
I think that the Chargers...
This would be a great bounce back for them.
I think it's going to be a big bounce back for them. I think that the Chargers might start off a little bit slower and not be able to recover against that tough Cowboys defense, but I think Chargers offense versus Cowboys defense is going to be the story of the game.
Yes, absolutely.
And I just think that the Cowboys defense is just slightly better when they're on over the Chargers offense.
Yeah, big game for Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and hopefully Austin Eckler. That will be hopefully a game that you guys would really want to tune into. because that can be a really, really good game.
Could be a really fun game. It could be a shootout. Let's see if Dak plays well in that game.
Yeah, this is a big bounce back for him.
Big game for
He's
Dak.
on the hot seat.
Yeah, he is on the hot seat, and
He might get benched. I mean,
Yeah.
if they lose this game,
yeah.
who knows if Trey Lance
Who
is
knows?
coming in?
Who knows?
Who knows?
So, that being said, that's our Week 5 recap and our predictions for Week 6.
Yeah, we hope you guys enjoy, per usual. Our standings will be posted, and these picks will also be posted on our Instagram at Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot in between every single word.
Yes, there is, Gavin. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Have a day.